So I'm Carrie Gress, and I'm the editor here at Theology of Home, and this is our first podcast. And today we're going to be interviewing Father Augustine Wilmeth, who is the brewmaster for the monks of Nursia in Nursia, Italy. They make this incredible beer, and he's going to tell us all about it. Thank you so much, Father Augustine, for joining us today. This is really great to have you here. I'm a long time fan of the monks of Nursia and certainly of your beer. And you are the brewmaster at the monastery of the monks of Nursia. And I'd love to just learn a little bit more about you and your life. And you're obviously not Italian, but how it is that you came to be the brewmaster of this monastery in kind of the middle of nowhere, Italy, really off the beaten path anyway.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Happy to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming. So go ahead and tell us about yourself and your own vocation and how you came to Nursia in the first place, and then and it sounds like you've been brewing beer for a long time. This wasn't something new that you picked up, but it's been a long time.
That's right.
Interest.
Sure. Well, I'm from the United States. I grew up in South Carolina, and maybe the first kind of interesting fact about my journey, my vocation is I didn't grow up Catholic. I'm a convert. We weren't really much of anything growing up. We went to Episcopal church for a few years, but it wasn't super serious. So it all sort of started when I got sent to Catholic high school because it was a good education. At first, well, the school was great, and I enjoyed it, but we also had religion theology class. And at first I thought, oh, this is all really strange. Who can believe all this?
Right.
But then, so that was sort of the first year, freshman year. And then we started studying church history. We read about the martyrs, the apostles, the church fathers. Just starting to study the history really helped me see that, no, it's real. Jesus Christ is real. Grace is real. And people really, their lives were changed by Jesus. And that was really beautiful and moving. We also, it was a good, pretty thorough education. So I was 15 or 14 maybe even, and we read the Confessions of St. Augustine. That we read some really good things at the school, and that work really spoke to me, and he's still my patron as a monk.
Right.
But yeah, the just seeing grace and the faith lived out in history, church history really was really helpful. So after that, I think this is true, but it took another year or so before I was ready to make the plunge and start living the faith, go to confession. And so it was, conversion is sometimes quick, or there's moments where you make a big leap, but then it also just takes time. So
especially when you're so young, and you clearly, since it wasn't in your family already, that it's pretty incredible.
That's right. Yeah.
You made those leaps at that age.
And it was a bit hard for my parents at first. They understood, in a way, and I think they were glad that I was happy, and it seemed to be good for me. But it was also difficult, and that it was something I did on my own. Afterwards, my brother, he entered the church, and my mom did as well. So usually there's sort of a chain of grace, and I don't think that's because of me, but I was the first kind of who got called.
Beautiful. I always think of it like birds. The way birds fly, where there's always one out in front who's taking the wind in the face, and then it sort of spreads out, and then eventually another bird will take the front. Over time, those dynamics change.
That's right.
Family. That's really beautiful to hear in your family. How that grace was really spread.
And so I became Catholic, and then I wanted to continue deepening my faith and live in a Catholic community. So I went to a pretty small Catholic university, Thomas Aquinas College in California.
Readers will definitely be familiar with that school, so that's fantastic.
And there's only about 400 students there. And when I visited, I found out that they had a Gregorian chant schola where they sing chant, and I went up to the professor that kind of directed it, led it, and I told him when I visited, I said, I want to join the schola when I come here. So that was something I was really attracted to, was Gregorian chant, and music in general has always been important for me. I used to listen to a lot of bad music, but then kind of with my conversion, I took everything, the whole library, and I deleted it.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, bad music, video games. It had to sort of be a cold turkey, sort of.
Yeah, right.
And start fresh and try to, in a way, fill my soul with good things and beautiful things. So I was attracted to chant. I then went to university, and only about halfway through freshman year, a few important things happened. I had a relationship, but I realized I wasn't really quite ready to pursue that very seriously. That is, pursue marriage. I hadn't really figured out what I was supposed to do. I did the Marian consecration, total consecration to Mary. And I think that was very, very helpful, or that sort of started things moving in terms of my monastic religious vocation. And then speaking with the chaplain there, I said I could become a priest, monk, I could get married. They all seemed great. And he said, well, if you really think you could do all of them, why don't you do the one that's better, the one that's more likely to make you a saint? And that's leaving everything and following Christ.
Right.
I said, okay, well, that makes sense. But then I had to find a community that fit. Right. Yeah, because like with marriage, you don't marry all women. You marry one woman. She better be the right one. Otherwise, it's not going to go well. So I visited some different places, and I came here to the monastery in Nursia after sophomore year. Spent a month here, and that was a very, very good, very powerful, also hard experience. But that really helped convince me that this life was for me. Interior things started kind of moving here. And so I wanted to come back and continue that work that started that summer.
Beautiful. That's amazing. So then tell me about the beer making. You had told me previously that this was also something that started when you were 16. So was that connected with your faith, or was that a totally different enterprise that just happened to coincide with this specific occasion?
No, it wasn't at first. That is, I had a lot of different hobbies and interests, and my dad too did a lot of different things. So we were on a trip going down to the beach, and we ate at a restaurant, and then beside it was a homebrew store. And I don't really remember this moment, but I guess we walked in and I was like, oh, Dad, like, this looks really cool. Why don't we try it? And so we got a fermenter, we got a kit, and we started making beer together at home. So it was something that we did together. And then it was fun. And brewing is very interesting because it's a combination of science and also kind of like cooking and that sort of creativity with smells and tastes. And so that kind of fusion that you can do in brewing was really interesting and exciting, fun for me. So that's sort of how I started getting into it. I kept brewing some in college. And then when I visited the monastery, the brewery hadn't even opened yet. They were thinking about starting a brewery. And I tried some of the test beers. They were okay. But then I kind of thought, I think I'm going to come back here and become a monk, but I still have 2 more years of school. And then they opened the brewery in the meantime. So when I arrived to join it, it had been open for about a year. Okay. And I got roped in to help pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what is it then? Can you tell us a little bit about the process and what it is that makes Nursia beer so unique and special? And, I know my family loves it. I know our local priests love it and really enjoy it. But it's obviously more of a European kind of beer than something that you're going to get in the United States. So maybe you could explain the difference between that and the special.
Yeah. Well, in a way, the basic process of brewing is basically the same for every brewery everywhere in the world. Kind of like wine, you take the grapes, you crush them, you ferment the juice, and you have wine. It's similar for beer. The basic process is the same, but there are a lot of different combinations you can really do with the different ingredients, all the different malts that you can choose from, the hops, the yeast, how long this step of the brew process takes, the temperature. There are all these different things you can kind of play with and tweak to get a different result in the taste in the glass. Our beer is it's in the monastic Belgian style. So they use a yeast that is what brewers would call Belgian yeast, which contributes a lot of flavor and aroma and kind of particular tastes and smells to the final beer. Whereas a German beer, a lager beer that's traditionally brewed kind of in a big barrel in a cave over many months, it has a very clean, neutral yeast flavor profile. So they're very easy to drink. You can drink several liters and still be on your feet. And it's a whole different approach. Belgian beer is a lot more intense, and there's a lot of character that the yeast brings to it. So that's sort of the style that we make. And then what also makes our beers quite special, other breweries do this too, but you do a re-fermentation in the bottle, kind of like champagne, where after the first fermentation in the tank, you then bottle it. But when you bottle it, you add a little bit of sugar and some fresh yeast. And the yeast eats that sugar, and that's what creates the carbon dioxide, creates the carbonation. So it's not pumped in from a tank, but it's actually natural. And when the yeast do that, they change the beer, and you get a lot of additional complexity, which really kind of makes the beer stand out. Makes it very special.
Yeah. The other thing I know, I've got a bottle of it here. You guys have done an amazing job. I love These
The
bottle
bottle
openers,
openers.
I think they're so fun. That they're just kind of a lever. You just pop the lid off with these,
Hmm.
and these chalices are so
Oh
fun.
yeah.
Well, we
Hmm.
we have several of these. So yeah, my husband was a monk at Norcia for 4 years long before we
Hmm.
met. He was one of the original three, and
Wow.
then left after discerning with Father Cash, and it just wasn't his calling. And but he loved Chimay Blue. That was his favorite
Hmm.
Belgian beer and favorite beer altogether. And so he actually used it. He became a professor at the University of Dallas shortly after he left there, and that was one of his proofs for God's existence. Using according to
Chimay
his
Blue.
proofs, was the Chimay Blue was the ultimate standard of beer. So it's been
It's
fun.
pretty good.
It is very good. Yeah. So it's been really fun to watch the monastery grow and change. We actually came for a visit before the earthquake. I mean, it was probably like 18 years ago when we were there,
Okay.
still
Wow.
engaged at that point.
Hmm.
But in any event, I know you guys just reopened the church that was destroyed in 2016, right?
Hmm.
Um,
That's right.
so that's really exciting. And is the brewing facility near the church, or where's that located? Because I know you guys are up in you moved to the mountains um
Right.
after the earthquake, correct?
Yes. So we've had a kind of interesting history. We're a young monastery. A lot of monasteries have been around for centuries, but we started in 1998 in Rome and have been in Norcia since 2000. And then a big life-changing event was the earthquakes in 2016. We had to leave the monastery in town. It was severely damaged. The church, the Basilica of Saint Benedict, collapsed,
Mhm.
and we moved to this property we have on the mountainside overlooking the town of Norcia. It's an old Capuchin Franciscan monastery, actually.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
And when we got it, it was a ruin. There was just the church and big pile of stones and a few
Right.
walls, but no roof. And
Mhm.
we had a vegetable garden up here. So after the earthquake, we pulled out the potatoes. We built a very temporary kind of cabin after living first in tents.
Wow.
And then when the second earthquake hit, we said, okay, we're not going to be going back for a while, so we better build something something long term
Yeah.
or medium term. So
Yeah.
we built a temporary wooden monastery, kind of a square cloister shape, and then we started rebuilding the old Franciscan ruins.
Mhm.
So we just finished that last year. In the meantime, they started restoring the church, the basilica in town, and that opened about 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Okay.
for the nine-year anniversary for the earthquake. At the
Yeah.
moment, it's not our church. That is, we never owned it. We kind of were
Oh, right.
allowed to use it, and
Mhm.
at the moment, the parish, the diocese, will be using it.
Mhm.
And we're up here on the mountainside, and we're happy here. We have more peace, more silence, and
I'm sure.
we're able to also have nature, forest, and that's helpful for our life of contemplation and prayer.
Right. Well, and that was one of the things my husband has talked about a lot was your order follows the Great Fast, and to
Hmm.
be only eating one meal a day. He said living above the restaurant. I think there was a restaurant, or maybe you would know
Yeah,
better.
restaurant.
Right
Yeah,
underneath the old monastery, and he said it was just torture to just smell all that amazing meat when you guys weren't eating meat all those months,
that's right.
day in and day out. So I can imagine that that's another element that you guys don't have to battle against. And of course, Norcia is known for its wild boar, right?
Wild boar. There's a lot of salami, prosciutto,
Yeah.
also black truffle. It's very well known for its food, and so a lot of Italians come to Norcia in the summertime as
Mhm.
basically food tourists. They also they come up to the mountains because it cools off at night and you can actually sleep. Whereas if you stay in Rome in July and August, it's an oven and you can't even sleep at night because it's so hot. So we get a lot of tourists, which is good. But when they have a big kind of rave in the piazza right outside of the monastery in town all night, that finishes when we're getting up. It's a little hard.
That's pretty brutal. No, that sounds like it was really providential to move up into the mountains. So I'm being mindful of your time. I want to be able to ask you more about Christmas and what it is that you
Yes.
recommend in terms of pairing the different beers. You have three different ones. So if you could just tell us about each of those three, and then maybe make suggestions for different Christmas meals, appetizers, desserts, whatever you think things would go well with. We would love to hear your expertise. Speaking of great food.
We have three beers. And they're like my children, so I can't really choose between them. That is, they're all beautiful and important. So when we opened, we had two beers at first. We had the blonde, which is 6%, lighter, very accessible, easy drinking. Everyone likes the blonde. And then we had the extra, darker, more complex. It was 10% alcohol.
Mhm.
We also add some different roast and caramel malts to it, and caramel sugar as well, that give it a lot of special flavors.
Mhm.
And then the sugar ferments completely. The yeast eat all of it. So the beer is still pretty light in terms of body. It's not really heavy and syrupy like a stout,
Right.
but it has a high alcohol content. So that makes it quite dangerous, actually. Even though you're drinking it, oh, this isn't so bad.
Right.
It can hit you. So you have to kind of be careful. Then for the 10-year anniversary of the brewery, we introduced one beer in the middle of the lineup called Triple, which was 8%. Also, the color was kind of a bit of in between the blonde, the really light, clear beer, and then the dark extra beer. And the Triple has some special characteristics. We add some special spices to it. Also, a blend of, I think, 5 different hops, and it has different grains. It has a little bit of oats. It has a little bit of wheat, and so there's just a very special, complex profile that the Triple has.
What's behind the Triple's name? Just out of curiosity, is that a name?
It's a beer style. Yeah, in Belgium, breweries would often make a single, a double, a triple, and a quadruple.
Okay,
and so I don't know what is being tripled, but they're generally stronger than a single or a blonde, and maybe not as strong as a dark strong or quadruple. Perfect. So they're kind of in the middle. In terms of pairing, they're all good. The blonde does pretty well because it has a little bit of a spicy finish, and so it's able to hold its own against a lot of food. But generally speaking, we used to say when you might have white wine, you could use the blonde. When you would maybe have red wine, you could use the extra. Right. The Triple is special to me because I wrote that recipe, and beautiful. And so that's really kind of my favorite, if I had to choose a favorite. And the Triple goes good with everything. It's complex enough to stand up to heartier, more intense dishes, but it's very easy drinking. The slightly more hoppy, bitter taste cleanses your palate and kind of allows you to tackle like spicy food, fried food, anything with a lot of fat or grease without any problems.
Right. So one of my favorite dishes that we make every Christmas is this stout cake for Christmas dessert. And it's at one point, there's this magic moment where you're standing above a pot of melted stout chocolate and butter. And it smells so good, and it ends up making this really moist, amazing cake. But I'm wondering if you have any suggestions about things that can be cooked with the beer that you would suggest, maybe a risotto or something like that. I mean, it's not as common as wine, but you can imagine those flavors really mixing in well in a way that brings a richness more than just something like broth or something.
Yeah. I've had a reduction of the blonde that it becomes kind of a caramel, almost caramel sauce. That was on some kind of meat. I don't remember what it was. It was at a restaurant here in town. Very good. I've had a risotto made with the Triple. It was a kind of a cheese guanciale, kind of like bacon risotto, which was very, very, very good. And the extra can also be used. We've used it to make kind of a caramelized onion sauce that we put on like salmon for fish. That was very good. You have to kind of cook it down and make a reduction. Sure. So for your stout cake, I would probably recommend the extra.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That sounds amazing.
It's been used to make kind of different cakes, and there's this very classic Italian Christmas dessert called panettone, which means like big bread, and it's got like candied fruit peel and things like that in it with eggs. So it rises a lot when they bake it, and the extra in that would be quite good.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I never would have thought about that, but that sounds fantastic. And panettone is, of course, not American fruitcake. It's a very different kind of bread.
It's way better.
It's so much better. I remember trying it.
Sorry, American fruitcake.
Yeah, because I stayed away from it initially when I lived in Rome for 2 years, and I didn't want to try it because I just thought it was fruitcake. And then I finally tried it. I was like, where has this been all my life? And now every Christmas I make sure we have it. And we have it toasted for breakfast on Christmas morning. And so I love that idea of adding the beer to the recipe. I might have to try that this winter. So last question, one of the things I love about this product is that it not only is it just an amazing thing to have on your table, but it's also such a great conversation piece in terms of telling people about where it came from and, the roots of it and the history of all of that. I wonder if you can just close with a little bit more details about the monastery and in terms of the brewing future and, really even just the expansion. I know you obviously started with 3, but where your number's at. I think those would be really interesting for people to just know and be able to share whether they're giving this as a gift or, talking with relatives at the Christmas table, because it feels very old worldly and just, this is a way to build culture when we have so much around us that's destroying culture. So if you could speak into that.
Right. Yeah, well, we, as I said, our monastery is pretty young. We started now about 25 years ago. We have 22 monks at the moment, so we've grown quite a bit since when we were 3. Right. And we're kind of unique in that we're a pretty international community. We have, I think, about 9 Americans. Most of the older monks, original older monks, are American, but we have a lot of European vocations now from Germany, Poland, Portugal. So it's a very very unique place.
Yeah.
Nursia is obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious. Nursia is the birthplace of Saint Benedict. So Saint Benedict was born here in town. We were the guardians of his birthplace before the earthquake. And we're trying to restore monastic life here at his birthplace. And that restoration involves also the way we pray, the way we worship. So we use Gregorian chant, kind of all the ancient prayers and ways that monks prayed for centuries. We still do all of that, and an ancient traditional way of life. So we have silence. We don't chat during the day. We use sign language to communicate. We eat once a day, as you mentioned. We observe the Great Monastic Lent, the fast from September 15th all the way to Easter. We don't eat meat in the monastery. A lot of different things that, unfortunately, in a lot of monasteries, they're just not really they're not observed, and no one even really remembers them. Yeah. But they're very important for identity, for your spiritual life, and they help you become more like Christ in the silence, in the fasting, the sacrifice. The goal really is to be transformed into another Christ, which is the goal for every Christian. But we try to give ourselves to that one purpose as completely and entirely as we can every day.
Beautiful.
The beer helps us do that. The sales help support our life, but also just the way the beer allows us to also be a bit of a bridge. So between people, between the world and God, people, when they hear that we make beer, they say, "Oh, that's neat," or they've tried it. "Oh, it's good." Those monks can't be so bad. They maybe then come for a visit. They pray. They get to know us, and we've seen different fruits come from that, spiritual fruits that can change people's lives. We don't make the beer to convert people, but that is a kind of a side benefit that certainly God intended when He inspired us to start this. And it also has helped us get to know and meet a lot of people, kind of spread the word. We don't advertise. We don't pay for Vocation advertising or even beer advertising, but we have met a lot of people and made a lot of friends and relationships through the beer. It's been kind of an icebreaker, which has been very beautiful.
That's fantastic. Well, wonderful. This has been really fun to have this opportunity to chat with you, because I know you don't talk to a lot of people. So we're really grateful. I'd love for you to keep, you and the monks, to keep us at Theology of Home and all of those men and women, but predominantly women who read us every day and who are really striving to create, homes and families and lives that really honor God. And so anyway, it's really fantastic to just see your witness, the way you're doing that.
I will pray for you and this important work, and maybe you'll mention it or write about it, but we have an online website in the United States, so you can order the beer on the website and it gets shipped to your house. So you don't even have to go to the supermarket to have our monastic beer in your home.
Well, and the best thing is, when it first came out, I think it was like $80, the shipping was initially. And
it was a lot. Yeah.
It hurt. But now it's like 16 or 15. It's really reasonable, and it comes packaged beautifully, and it's always been, quick and everything, there's no damage or anything. So it's been really exciting to have that U.S. distributor here. So anyway, well, Father, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having your beer this Christmas.
You're welcome. Yeah, well,
and praying for you.
Well, blessed Advent to everyone, and we hope that you have a peaceful, joyful, fruitful preparation for the feast of Christmas.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Father. God bless you.
Okay. God bless you. Take care. Bye.